Hello, and welcome to Mixology, where we launch each episode mixing up a beverage as we discuss how customer education and customer marketing mix together as scale engines to customer success. I'm Kristine Kukich, and along with Shannon Howard, we're talking about expansion and cross selling and how we can help scale those functions. And this time, we're doing it with an Apple Role Spritz. If you're in the mood but not into the Aperol, just substitute apple cider or sparkling cider. Here's the ingredients: 2 ounces of Aperol, 3 ounces of hard cider, 1 ounce of club soda or sparkling water, that's optional, and apple slices or any other fall garnish that you would like to put in there, maybe a cinnamon stick, and then follow along as I mix it up. And this time around, we're still in fall, so we're going to go ahead and make an Aperol Spritz fall style. If you're used to them in their summer guise, there's Prosecco to make it all bubbly. And for this one, we are using, of course, some Aperol. Right? Where's my Aperol? Here. And the shaker. In goes the Aperol. That's 3 ounces of Aperol. And then we are going to also use 3 ounces of dry apple cider, hard cider. So where's my ounce measures? Here we go. Another 3 ounces here. And in it goes to the shaker. Pause for a minute while I make all kinds of racket. Put the lid on and shake it up. And then to top it off, once you're in, just get it ready. Again, if you didn't catch the ingredients list, it's ahead of this part of the video. So just go back a little bit and you'll see it. But I've got some mineral water, some Italian mineral water to go ahead and go in with it once it is ready to go. But it's to taste and to fill the glass. All right. So here's my glass. And in we go with our spritzer. Oh, it's almost to the very top already. Nice. And then I've got a garnish. I'm just using up some of my fall cherries with some apples as garnish. So we'll just toss that in there. And there you go. The apple hyphen roll spritz. And let's go join Shannon and get ready and dig into today's topic. Conversation that's been out. Another conversation that has been out there is the push for post sales to really truly own the expansion and cross sell part of the business. And that's been falling heavily on the customer success team in most of the conversations that I've been having. And so I thought it was time for us to talk about how customer marketing and customer education as scale engines, right, can help with those efforts and how both of them have roles to play, right? Does that kind of tie into, you've been hearing some of that same types of conversation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think recognizing maybe that for a long time, let's say customer education has been focused on support ticket deflection or retention, product adoption, and now we're looking at how can we more closely tie to revenue. And then same thing with customer marketing is maybe we've been relegated to mostly advocacy, and then maybe there's some element of life cycle or engagement, but expansion is a way that we can tie ourselves to real dollars. And so I think that's where I'm hearing it come up more is how do we tie these functions that are scale engines but kind of have maybe like more influence on metrics and ownership of metrics? How do we actually tie more directly to
Right.
dollars and cents?
And with customer ed, I think that the answer to the question, what role does it play? We were talking about this before we started recording, but it's that whole breadth and depth discussion, right? Where if customers are more sticky, the more they know about how your product can help them in their job, in their jobs
Mhm.
to be done, right?
Sure.
And the construct of we have, I don't know, 5, 6 standard use cases for our product. And if someone has learned the ins and outs of most of those, they may not use them all themselves, but they understand how the product could work in that situation. When they get a new request, boss comes and says, Shannon, I need you to help me with this because it came from the CEO that we now have to start figuring out how to do this.
Mhm.
And we get tasked with doing this. And Shannon, being the clever person that she is, goes to her favorite tool and says, I think this could do that. I think we could go this route. Right. And you've now become innovative in the way that you're using the product because you're thinking outside of the traditional use cases to solve a very unique problem to you. Whether or not that problem has existed anywhere else, that's what communities are for, right? And so that, but I think that's where it plays out, right? Doesn't is that line up with what you've been thinking about?
Mhm. Yeah, kind of maybe expanding our thinking around use cases, but I also think, right, we play a role in helping people to get to primary value. Because if they're not achieving primary value, what would make them interested in any kind of like secondary value measure? So I think getting them to that aha moment or that value realization moment, and then also kind of introducing them to your point of what else is possible. Like maybe you didn't know that you could do this with this product or platform or tool, or what are other people doing, and how could you start to maybe get those wheels spinning. So maybe it's expanding to other use cases or other groups that could use your tool. Um, and I think that's where education can like almost drop the like a breadcrumb type thing of like, hey, did you also know that this was possible? And we're starting to introduce people like through education to the realm of the possible. Um, and I think you do that in partnership with customer marketing. But I think it can be a really, I think maybe we don't always think about how can education like play a role in expansion, but when you think about creating awareness and interest, and you're thinking about highlighting those use cases, how other people are doing this, that can create a lot of organic, natural interest that's easy to pull into some kind of marketing campaign.
Right. And I think that's where customer marketing really, really shines in the partnership of this is being able to take that basic interest and turn it
Mhm.
in and amplify it, right? Whether that's through a webinar that is for look at what you've done with this new idea. And let's showcase what you've done and show others what you were able to do, and then spark those same ideas in 25 other people. There used to be a commercial about the hair conditioner that said, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends. Like I was maybe 5 or 6 when this was on TV. And 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 that's what it is, right? That's how word of mouth works is somebody will say, oh, look what happened here, or I was on this call with them when they talked about this thing. And
Mhm.
customer marketing can really own that discussion thread and pushing through the the information that people need to be able to make the good decisions for themselves about new parts of your product that are truly launching brand new, or what we might have thought of as weird use cases because we really did that thing for one client, right? There was this one client that really needed this thing, and we did this thing for them because they said we'll pay you to do this thing. And you did it, but no one else has really ever understood how this thing could work in a way that would benefit the other 99% of our customer base until you publicize it, right? Until you get it out there and people go, oh, look, well, that's kind of like this thing here that I've been thinking about. And the next thing you know, it's shown up as a use case on your website because now and sales can sell to it.
So that's making me think of maybe another like CE customer marketing overlap is sometimes I think maybe in training sessions, you are hearing a use case or a customer has an aha moment or customers figure out how to use a part of your tool that maybe they didn't know before. And then you're able to pass along kind of that success story, that aha moment to customer marketing to say, and here's how Jane Doe over here accomplished XYZ. Or and you're able to like pull those forward into marketing. Like I just think like preaching to the choir here around like voice of customer being like really no one cares if a vendor says like we're awesome and our tool can do this. Like okay, like your whole job is to sell me on this thing, but if a customer is able to say, "Hey, here's what I'm doing and here's what I've been able to do with this tool." Like that's a whole different world because they're not incentivized really in any way to say that. Um and it's more like, yeah, putting their maybe, I don't want to say career on the line, but it's like their professional credentials. If they're willing
Exactly.
to say something, it's because they've actually found value in it, versus, of course, as a
Right.
company trying to sell something, you could say whatever. But that voice of customer gives it more credence.
And there's truthfully, there's less chance of being believed, right? I think I talked about it this week when I did a post for LinkedIn. It was like trust is is built through nobody needs to hear the sales pitch. What they want to
Mhm.
hear is the value that you're bringing. And
Mhm.
that happens through building that trusting relationship. And you can't do that if all you're really doing is selling, right?
Mhm.
And the people that bring the realism to the relationship are the existing customers who are doing well. They're using the tools in either prescribed or unprescribed ways.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So expansion. We have this opportunity for customer education to highlight different use cases that people haven't heard of before, what other people are doing with the product, how you can use other things. And we've talked a little bit about customer marketing kind of bringing it forward, but what do you think is the role customer marketing plays in expansion? Because earlier you said a lot of this is being put on customer success teams. How can customer marketers help to scale some of that?
And I think that's the whole construct around that one to many that is a consistent theme through everything we talk about for customer education and customer marketing. This is where customer marketing can shine because they have all of those outlets to focus on the one to many in ways that success is finding a little bit easier with the advent of AI, but that doesn't preclude the construct of webinars, right? Webinars are one of the easiest ways to get messages out to a large number of people because people will show up to watch it, number one, to be there and be part of the experience, but they will also watch the video, right? Watch the recording later and come back with questions to their CSM that says, and look, I saw this. I saw they're doing this. Our use case is a little bit twisted like this. Can you help? And they'll say, of course I can help. Here's the toolkit that's going to help you with that. It's an add-on. So la, da, da, da. There we go down the little route that says, and to add an X dollars to your subscription fee on an annual basis will put you in in the running to be able to use this forever and ever. Amen. And that works, right? The structure for that works, but it also works in the other places where marketing has influence. So in the community, if
Hmm.
customer marketing is owning the community, I think that's another place where you can showcase use cases in ways that give people an opportunity to go back to the other customers who are doing those things and say, how did you get to this point? Right? How did you do this one? I've been struggling with this thing. Talk to me about how you did that. And those conversations are gold, right? Those are the ones that then lead to people being able to say, I think I can figure this out now. I think I can actually make this work
Hmm.
as long as we get all the tools that we need from within the product. Or not,
Hmm.
to be honest. I mean, sometimes the answer is no, we're never going to do that, which is fine too. Just tell me.
Yeah, I think earlier in an earlier episode this season, we were talking about marketing campaigns. And we talked, I think even we gave an example of an expansion campaign of how can customer marketing support, you mentioned webinars, right? I'm also thinking like customer proof, right? So if I'm trying to sell another module of our platform, I'm looking at like who's using it. Can I get quotes? Can I get testimonials, case studies? Can I do some kind of asset, collaboration with them, talking about how they're using this part of the platform, the value that it provides to them, what it empowers them to do, so that I can introduce that to other customers, how XYZ is doing XYZ with XYZ product. And then same thing of I think just like segmenting, and now this was like at a previous company where I customer marketing did like CS enablement for enterprise, but then more like life cycle and expansion for self-serve, like down market, was we were looking at, well, who's using this part of the product that would then be maybe a good fit for this other part of the product, and then running these multi-channel campaigns to introduce
Right.
them to the like realm of the possible, and then invite them into a conversation or just to upgrade to that new module, unlock this feature. And yeah, I think you can be like more programmatic, because when you just think about it, like a one-to-one sale is great for bigger ticket items, but like how can we start to generate interest and then like pass it off to the account manager or the CSM for a conversation and a close, right? So like how can we almost broad scale SDR like current customers and get them saying, hey, like how do I turn that on, or how do I get access to that in my product? And that's where I think customer marketing really has a great opportunity with expansion, because otherwise it's all happening in one-to-one sales conversations, and most customer success managers, their book of business is too big to have like all of these renewal conversations plus QBR EBRs plus like expansion conversations with their entire book of business. And that's where I think we can just
Exactly.
be great partners to them.
And I think that that's again the theme that we always say is it's the one to many, right? We can certainly be the top of the funnel
Hmm.
and then give it back to CS when it comes time to be at the bottom of the funnel, because they're the ones who have established that type of relationship with the customer. So it really gives us an opportunity to to give them a funnel to work from in ways
Hmm.
that they may never have had to do before because they were never revenue responsible
Hmm.
necessarily, but also to control what's really best for the customer, right? Customer success is really about making sure they are successful doing the business they need to do using our tool.
Hmm.
And so making that job easier for them to do is what we can do from our side, from the one to many side of the equation. So we play together, right? We use customer education and customer marketing, and they mix together, and we weave the story that we want to tell for this expansion effort. How do we track success? How do we measure the different parts? Well, exactly, right? How do we say that 7% was us?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I do think there are people who have formulas for this and attribution models and whatever, which is awesome. Hopefully we can all get there. Um, but I think part of that like collaboration, so if you think about just how would any marketing team, measure their success, right? So they're maybe building pipeline, right? They're generating qualified interest, they're building pipeline. They're not responsible for closing it. That's not marketing's job, but they're building pipeline. Like, can customer marketing build pipeline for whether that's upsell or cross sell? Like, can they build that pipeline? I think you could do that. That could be a metric and a measurement. I think we probably often fall into like, well, I created these case studies and I like did this thing and like a lot of activity. Like, I know we talk a lot about um falling into the pattern of activity metrics, but like what did that do? Like, was an opportunity teed up? Can you tell a little bit of the story? And even if you think about your typical win wire, can we talk about how customer marketing paved the way? Or, this person was doing our, I don't know, certification program and learned more about this thing. And then they reached out to their customer success manager to ask, like, hey, I saw this. Like, how can I do that in my platform? They were able to have a conversation. This leads to an expansion opportunity. Like, can we actually tell that full story so people start to see the benefit and the value of leveraging these scale functions, because I still think those of us who do it are like, yes, obviously, you know, and then people who don't are like, whatever, like they're just so used to. But you just think about, how do most people do things? They just do like the same thing the same way all the time, and until they need a system to scale, like most people will just kind of continue to do the same thing, and then they have to kind of see there's another way. Like, what if you didn't have to go after people one on one? What if you didn't have to nurture your entire pipeline yourself? What if someone else could help you? And helping them to see that.
And that partnership really plays out when we say, let's say it's new features
Mhm.
activity, right? Because education is probably developing a new features class of some kind of content that says, here's all the new toys that we have available with this release. Here's what they can do. Let's take that and build the campaign off of the quarterly new features or the whatever the release structure is for your new features. If you're doing
Mhm.
every 2 weeks, bundle it. But
Yeah.
is my best advice. Don't try to start a campaign every 2 weeks. That's like marketing sprints, and it turns ugly fast, in my experience. If anyone's been successful, comment, right? Let me know, because I think that would be cool. But uh, but the whole idea there of, let's take that content that we're building and delivering from a customer education perspective, and allow that to be the start of the pipeline, right? And building the big pool at the top of the funnel, so that we can then start to leverage marketing to start narrowing down what happens till it
Mhm.
gets to the smallest point that then goes back to AEs, AMs, and customer success, or any combination of those things, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
What about, we talked before about um, first value, right? Original value, and when we
Mhm.
can get them to first value. Is there a way, do you think, that we then take what happens from that point of first value to additional value? Do
Mhm.
we try, because we normally say, okay, onboarding takes this amount of time, and within that onboarding, we expect at the 45-day mark for somebody to say, this is cool, this is perfect, this is exactly what we thought it was going to be, right? And is there a point from that to measure up until the next point of, is it life cycle management, and then that they did something different, unexpected for their, unexpected for their vertical, whatever it happens to be, as that, is there a way that we could measure that and include it in the expansion discussion of metrics?
I don't know. I mean, I think when I think first value, I think if people are not getting out of your product what they originally bought it for, it really doesn't matter how many other things you can do. They're just not interested. You know, like it needs to do what they need it to do to start. Like, and you have to earn that, back to your note on trust. Like, you have to earn that trust first before you then earn the right to expose them to other points of value. Um, but I'm also thinking about like mastery. So like one of our customers does advertiser education, and they use it for like expansion and growth, right? Because they do this advertiser education, and as people take their certification, they're growing in skills and mastery, which leads them to um, run more advertising campaigns, spend more money on advertising campaigns, but also run more effective. Like, one of their metrics of success is like, it's that whole idea of, we're successful when our customer is successful. They want their customers to have efficient advertising campaigns. So, you know, if anyone's ever operated in the world of paid, you spend a buttload of money for very little return. It's one of the least efficient channels. But if you can figure out how to do it well, like, and make your spend more efficient, like, that's very good for you. But then these people are then spending more money, so they're seeing expansion revenue there just from increased usage through that like mastery, where yes, you've got to learn the 101, like, how do you set this up, how do you even run an ad, like, how does paid advertising work, But then as you go deeper, like you're learning more about the like how to do advertising on this particular platform, you're increasing in mastery, which is then increasing your usage, and they're actually able to tie that like very tangibly to dollars and cents. But they'd also like intentionally built the content to achieve that outcome. Like one of the things I think I've seen that I want to discourage us from doing is trying to retroactively like put a number on something and like trying to do this analysis of, did education or did this campaign lead to this thing that maybe it was never intended to do, versus saying like, this is what we want to do. Like we want to increase cross sell, increase upsell. We want to, whatever it is, like increase revenue in this way. And here's how we're going to go after it as a team. And here's the role that education can play. Here's how customer marketing can amplify that, get it out to people, capture customer voice. Like here's the role that account management plays. And then we have that truly team mentality of going after this versus like everybody doing their own thing and like hoping maybe
Well,
a customer.
and we built a team when I did it the last time. We actually built a team that said, this is the role that everyone's going to play in this expansion effort, and here's the focus that we're going to spend our time on this quarter, right? So we're going to focus on this part of the product or this add-on or this very specific targeted activity. And from there, we're going to measure everything along the path. So from the first introductory webinar that said, if you haven't seen this feature, here's what this feature does, that brought in our product expert and had them do a quick show and tell about how cool this was. Then we brought in a customer who's already using it, and we said, this is what they believe it does for them. Here's how they're using it in their particular use case. And then we tracked from there what happened with the communications. We did A/B testing with CTAs that said, did somebody contact their CSM right after that to have a discussion or within a time frame, right? Because from the time we sent it to the time that they had their first contact with the CSM, what did that look like? Was it days? Was it a week? Anything more than that in attribution is a little bit harder to pin down, but we were able to really watch the behavior of the customer through that journey to say, the first time we did it, two, I think we got two, which was, there was no goal. It was, we just,
Yeah,
we
just
have to get a
experiment.
baseline, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to get a baseline from then on. The next quarter, it was, we have to do better than two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we got better, right? We did get better at it. We were able to leverage our resources better. We had better opportunities to find customers who were doing these things, and we could build them on a cycle, right? Because your product still has a finite amount of things it can do. It expands a little bit, but it's still finite. And so we were able to push it into like a marketing expansion calendar that said Q1 is this, Q2 is this, Q3 is this, Q4 is this, rinse, repeat in 26, and it can work. Right? But
Mm-hmm.
it takes work too, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So
Yeah. Okay.
so we talked then about what role customer education plays, giving
Mm-hmm.
people the knowledge to make good decisions. We talked about how customer marketing plays their role in expansion and being able to get the word out and pull the right people in to give the word,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then how they team together to create a successful expansion campaign using many of the traditional metrics from a regular campaign, even though we
Mm-hmm.
have to tweak them for the post-sales environment, but
Sure.
there's still many of the same metrics, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can think about it pretty similarly, but I do think, well, I don't really feel like it's a new motion, but I just think we're so used to focusing on acquisition. And then there's all this rigor around acquisition, and then potentially less rigor post sales. Because I think, like, for the longest time, acquisition was just the focus, and then maybe customer retention. But I think more companies are seeing the opportunity that they have in their own customer base, right? And like, especially with a weird current market, and maybe people more apprehensive about like switching platforms, buying new products, like, okay, our current customer base is actually our swimming hole now. And so I think we're seeing more of that like rigor hygiene around the post-sale sales process and not
Right.
just
I think that you're right there. I think that we're applying the same structure. Say we have all not long in demand gen and even field marketing, right? So
totally. All right. That's it. For
figure
now.
out how you're going to use this. Let us know how you're successful. If you are successful, if you're not successful, comment below and we will see you again soon. All right.